So one thing that I've always struggled with in The Chosen Season 3 is, well, okay, there's a couple of different things, but one of the things I've been talking about recently is actually this relationship between Eden and Simon, and how it's probably really unlikely that they would have family planned like we saw in season 3 of The Chosen. We saw them as they sat down, they talked about how they're going to have a family, and they're talking about how this is the right time to have a family, and now we can start doing that. This would have been a very strange concept. I think it definitely at their ages that they're at, if we can imagine they're in their 20s or so, this is definitely a time when Jewish people would have been having families, and so it feels so good to be kind of talking about this with the experts of the show as Dallas kind of brings up this relationship here. And this doesn't last too long. This is about a 2-minute conversation that moves pretty quickly because we get an answer pretty fast in this as well. But it seems pretty unlikely, and I've been talking about that for a while. It's just kind of weird that they would have like family planned like this. So let's jump in. Let's talk about this portion of the biblical roundtables with our experts here, with Dallas Jenkins, and talk about if Eden and Simon would have family planned like this and what it actually looks like. Here we go.
So Simon and Eden, they have this scene where they're, Simon's home from a trip. They're hoping to start a family. One line that raised some questions that I think was worth discussing is when he says, I think it's time to start a family. Would that have existed back then, the notion of waiting to start a family? We're portraying it a bit as not that they were avoiding it, just that they weren't maybe being intentional about it. What was the tradition back then? Would they have gotten married and immediately been like, it's kid time? Or would there ever have been a situation where they were like, let's not be too overly intentional about it just yet? Is that possible?
Real quick before we continue, I wanted to let you know that the majority of people that watch our channel actually aren't subscribed. I know this is like such a small thing, but it truly, really helps us out. So if you could hit that subscribe button, it would mean the world to me. All right, let's get back to the video.
It goes back to the first commandment to be fruitful and multiply.
This is huge. Let me read this. So this is like, you have to understand the Jewish culture here. Like the Jewish culture is like, they're going to take God's commandments very seriously, not only in their own lives, but as a people. What is our goal as a people? Our goal is to be fruitful and multiply, right? To fill the earth. And so Genesis 1:28 says, and God blessed them, and God said to them, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth, and subdue it and have dominion over it, the fish of the sea, over the birds of the heavens, and over every living thing that moves on the earth. So this is a very serious commandment that they would have tried to follow, absolutely.
Yeah. And fill the earth, so it was a commandment that's seen as incumbent upon Jews to take seriously. You see this with the religious Jews today. They have 8, 10, 12, some even have 18 kids right on the extreme end. So, and obviously, no birth control in the first century. So they're probably going to be pretty, serious about having children. But if there's economic hardship or different things, then that might have.
I think Rabbi Jason is being he's being overly friendly here. I think what he really is thinking is nah, this is so unlikely, but he doesn't want to just say that outright. I think he's being overly generous. He's trying to come up with scenarios in which maybe someone would have waited. Sure, it's a possibility, but it's a less than 1% possibility that they would have been in this situation, in my opinion. And so it just struck me as very strange in season 3. It's one of those moments where it was that's weird. That does not sound correct historically, for sure.
Influenced them in some way.
Yeah, so it's not crazy that they might have wanted to wait a bit, but it wasn't. We considered that scene maybe not, but potentially plausible, because we know that when we first introduced to Simon and Eden early on, they are economically in hardship. Probably just married, trying to figure out the future. Maybe they would have waited.
But in all probability, disciples probably would have been younger. By right. That age, it would have, the age of the actual characters in the story, it's probably unlikely they wouldn't have had kids already. But
we're trying to. The fact that we have them as young as we do is against what you typically have seen in most Jesus projects, where most of the disciples are these.
That's very true. Yeah.
Old, studious, gentlemen with big beards, and they're probably late teens to late teenagers. Yeah. So we're in the middle ground, there, kind of early 20s, late teens maybe. But the thing that I really wanted to get into was
anyway, that's the small conversation as they go on to something else. But I thought it was really funny, really interesting as they had that short conversation. Something that I've been talking about for a while. It really didn't make sense to me, so I'm glad that someone else kind of, agreed with me there. Interesting to see. As always, we love The Chosen, but there are these little things, that always are going to happen that kind of show that, there's nothing that's ever going to portray this biblical story in a perfect way. It's just not going to happen. And so we have these little moments here and there that just kind of don't really make sense. So if you like this small part of the stream, then you can watch the full entire 2-hour stream on our Patreon at patreon.com/thesnipelife. This is an amazing way that you can help to support us, and really the best way that we've found over the years. So if you want to support us over there, go to patreon.com/thesnipelife and sign up for $5, $10, or $25. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.